Okay, yesterday we discussed figure of speech, and I told you the figure of speech will not only help you answer these questions, but also help you write your story. Yesterday, we were able to discuss a number of them. We started from simile, went to metaphor, onomatopoeia, personification, oxymoron, alliteration. We even did a little bit of, okay, we did hyperbole and we did irony, okay? And I think, which one am I missing? Euphemism, yeah, we also discussed euphemism, hyperbole, euphemism. Okay, so before we start today, I would like you to attempt these questions. You'll just say them, okay? Let me see how far you have mastered your figures of speech. Remember, I told you, you need to use these figures of speech to actually enrich your writing. That is how you're going to get your high marks. Let me look for the syllable, the mark scheme, so that you know what I'm actually talking about. Yeah, this is the mark scheme. If we go to the story, the right up, yeah. The text structure and organization, the purpose and audience. See, everything carries 25 marks. Now, this is what I want from you. It said the ideas are organized into a planned and coherent story that flows. The ideas must flow from one to the other. Now, the character points of view, the voice is sustained. Anyway, I think I'll read this to you when we start marking, okay? So I want you to attempt these questions. You can just say it. The first one, the night is as dark as black stone. That one is very, very clear. Similarly, now go to number 2. Just name the answer and I will just type it. And at the end, we'll find out if you're correct.
Number 2 is metaphor.
Very correct. Keep moving. Number 3. If you find any number difficult or quite not easy, just move to the next one, okay?
I think number 3 is either oxymoron or hyperbole.
No, it's not hyperbole. It's
either
you don't have to guess. On the exam, they might just give you one option. Okay, oxymoron, because placing side by side. Remember I told you yesterday, okay, I think I told you that for alliteration. All these, the preposition, sorry, the preposition and the article, they don't really matter, okay? So the opposite of beginning is end, so oxymoron. You're correct, keep moving.
Number 4, simile.
Of course. 5.
Personification.
No.
No.
Do not guess.
Onomatopoeia.
Fine, because of the sound humming. Okay. Number 6. If you're finding it difficult for now, you can move to the next one. We'll come back to question 6 later on. Number 7, Hyperbole, very correct. Okay, number 8. Oxymoron, that's very correct. Number 9.
Nutrition.
Very correct. Number 10.
Personification.
Yes, very correct. Representation. Number 11.
11.
If you find it difficult, you can move to number 12. We'll go back to the two, 6 and 11 again. So move to number 12.
Number 12, simile.
Obviously. Number 13.
Number 13, oxymoron.
Very correct. Number 14.
Number 14,
This is an animal.
metaphor.
Very correct. Metaphor. Comparing without the use of as like. 15.
Oxymoron.
What did you call it? Simile.
Oxymoron.
Very correct. Okay, number 16. Number 16. Personification, that's very correct. Number 17.
Number 17. Personification. I mean, alliteration.
Yeah. Number 18.
Metaphor.
Metaphor. Number 19.
Number 19.
Yeah.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole, that's very correct. Number 20, very easy.
Simile.
Of course. Now, let's go back to, actually, you did very well, okay? Okay, now, look at this one. This underlined word is being referred to as a human being. So I think I've given you a clue. What figure of speech is that?
What is it?
I said the underlined word here, experience, is being treated like a human being. It's being called a teacher. So what figure of speech is that?
Navigation.
Very correct. And finally, there are two words here that are directly opposites. Is it clear? Are you confused? Did you see that now?
Oxymoron.
Very correct. So you see, if you had problems with only two, then I'm very, very proud of you. Now, what we need to do now is how to use this when writing our story. So I can close this now. Let us begin today's dance. Okay. We're going to continue the writing, the paper 2, the writing part. I just showed you an ingredient that you can use to actually enrich your story. Paper 2, like you know, is fiction. It carries 25 marks. You also have 1 hour, 10 minutes. So on that day, do not spend more than 30 minutes in your story writing. First off, yeah, I believe you can see my screen. Yeah, clearly. First off, they'll give you a passage to read. And after reading, you will use that passage to answer some questions like this. Of course, we just concluded the second term examination, so you are still familiar with the nature of checkpoint questions. So they'll give you a passage to read. You will use this passage to answer the gap-filling questions. When you are done with that, they will now ask you to write a story. Now, they'll ask you to write a story. You are going to use the story from this passage will actually serve as a clue. It will give you like an idea of what to write about, but please do not copy anything from this passage. Okay, this story, you're going to write a similar story like this passage, but you have to be original. Do not copy anything from this passage. Okay, now the story. Can you hear me?
That, let's say I can't hear you, but did you say when they ask like to summarize the passage?
No. They will not ask you to summarize the passage. What I'm saying is that this passage, you will use this passage to answer these questions. Then they will ask you to write a story. This story will be similar to what you read in the passage, but do not copy anything from the passage. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if possible, just write your own story and pretend you did not read this passage. With that, you're going to be safe. Now, the story. Now, look at the advice. You spend 30 minutes on this section. Write a story about arriving in a new place and meeting someone for the first time. You should consider, now they are giving you bullet points. They are giving you bullet points to include in your story. Where you met, the place where you met, let me say the jungle, the person, the appearance and the character, and what happens after you meet. Now, they'll give you the bullet points. The first thing you do is to draw out your plan. Let me reduce this. Yeah, the first thing you do is to draw out your plan. The plan will be based on the 3 bullet points. So the place where you both meet, you can just scribble it here. Okay, we met at, you state the place, okay? Then you go back, the person, who is the person to you, your friend, your neighbor, just describe the neighbor, kind of character, okay? Then what happens after you meet? You need to draw out your plan. They need to see your rough work, which you use to develop into the full story, okay? Now, after your plan, let me tell you what you must include in your story. That's the element of the story. The first thing you must include is what is called the setting. The setting is the place and time. You know what? Let me remove the time. Let me remove the time. Let me just stick with the place. Okay? The place where the story happened. Of course, every story must happen in a place. So that is setting. You must establish the fact that this story happened in a place. Now, what setting is this one? I believe you can see my cursor.
Like a village.
A village setting, very correct. Now, the second one is what setting?
Like a town.
Good. So when writing your story, you need to establish the fact that this story took place in the city or this story took place in the village. So you must establish your setting. Secondly, you must introduce your character. There must be characters in your story. Now, what are characters?
Like people, like any people or animals or anything.
In the story. Now, anything that behaves like human being, like, have you seen the movie Avengers? What's the latest one? Endgame, yeah. Is it Endgame? Do you know this character, the one I'm pulling up and down?
Yeah.
What do you call it? What's it called? Groot, right? Kevin, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, I said this, and this character is Groot. Naturally, this character is made from the tree, and this character should naturally not talk. I believe you've seen is it Easter Bunny or Peter Rabbit? I think this should be the character. Animals don't talk. So as long as this animal talks, this animal becomes a character. And you know this heroic figure, right? What do you call this guy?
Oh,
Thor, good. So you must you must introduce characters in your story. Now, let me give you one advice. Do not exceed, or just use between 2 and 3 characters in your story. Okay? Use between 2 and 3 characters. Do not exceed 3 characters, or you end up writing a book. And remember, you have how many minutes to write this story? Hello?
yeah.
How many minutes do you have to write the story according to checkpoint rules? 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Good. So do not exceed more than 3 characters. You end up writing a book. You end up writing more than expected. Now, introduce dialogue. Your characters must talk. You must bring them to life when you make them speak. Okay? You look cute today. Thanks. Okay? You must talk. Now, when writing your story, most people have the problem, of where to begin. Where to begin. So I advise, when you want to start your story, you can start with this formula. Use any of those words. I call it dad. Okay? Either you start with description or action or dialogue. Begin your story with that. Okay? Now, let me give you an example. Description. Once upon a time, there lived a man in the city of London who had 3 children and works at the factory close to Browning Street. You can see you are describing this man. Of course, your story is going to be about this man. That's why you started the story by describing. There lived a man in faraway land. All those are descriptive ways of starting a story. You can also use dialogue. And sorry, what is dialogue again?
Like when a conversation between 2 characters.
Very correct. Conversation between characters. Now, this dialogue is taken from Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite books and one of my favorite lines in the 3rd trilogy, Return of the King. He said, the way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. The way is shut. Now, when you start a story with dialogue, a very strong dialogue, you will capture the mind of the reader. From this, now you know the movie is going to be filled with action. And when you start with lines like, of all creatures that breathe and move upon the world, nothing is weaker than man. When you start with lines like that, people are going to like warm up for the show. So in this movie, this guy met a ghost, he met spirits, or let's call them living dead, and he needed their help. So when he entered the cave, the king of the living dead greeted him with these lines. So if imagine you start a story with these lines, it's going to be captivating. The 3rd one, action. You can start your story using action. One clean jump and the leopard sailed effortlessly over the wall, landing noiselessly inside the compound. It made straight for the pen for his dinner. You see, when you do this, people will be wondering, wow, there will definitely be an attack. The leopard wants to attack its prey. And for the fact that the leopard landed inside the compound, maybe somebody might be there waiting to kill it. So you're already expecting action right from the beginning of the movie. Have you seen this movie, Matrix?
Matrix.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Extraction by the guy who played Thor? Have you seen the movie Extraction?
No.
I'm trying to look for a movie where from the beginning, you see action. And it is that action that will make you sit down and, just keep you seated for 2 hours. So if you begin your story with action, it's beautiful. If you begin it with dialogue, fine. If you begin with the description, no problem. Just use one of them. Okay. Now, use the bullet points to draw out your plans. I've explained that. Also, remember to include your title. You must give a very interesting title. Sometimes you do not need to begin with a title. You can finish your story before writing your title. Okay? Finish your story before you write your title. Then, for the title part, if you run out of ideas, you don't know what to give your, what to title your story. Just pick the main character.
The voice is cooking.
Okay, okay. You can hear me now, I believe. Can you hear me clearly now? Kevin, I believe you can hear me now. Hello, Kevin, can you hear me now? Okay, I said, when writing your title, if you run out of ideas, you don't know what to name, what to title your story, just pick the name of the major character, the main person you're writing about, and just give it a name. You can just say John, or you can just say Big John, or Little Mikhail. Oh, no, let's not do Little Mikhail. Brave Sam. Okay? So if you run out of ideas, of course, during the examination proper, there'll be tension, there'll be anxiety. So if you're unable to come up with an idea of your title, just pick the name of your main character and make it your title. Is that clear?
Yes.
Good. Finally, before you start writing the story for me, finally, and this was what we discussed yesterday, when writing your story, use imagery and other figures of speech to spice up your work. Remember I told you yesterday that instead of saying the man is dirty, you say he's as dirty as a pig, or you say he's a pig. Now, if you want to say somebody is a giant, somebody is huge, how would you say it? Like if you want to use figure of speech?
This is as big as an elephant.
As an elephant, good, good. The person is as huge as an elephant. I like that. So instead of saying the person is a giant, the person is huge, you can just create that extra imagery. The person is an elephant, the person is a Goliath. Okay, so you can use those comparisons to add pictures to your story. Now, you notice that here, most people have problems on how to begin their story. Also, people also have problems or challenges on how to end their story. How do you end your story? Summarize the events in the story. How do you do that? Just solve all the problems and bring the story to an end. For example, in the beginning, a boy lost his parents and went to the university. Climax, he got a good job and he started having some problems. And at the end, the problem was solved and he became rich, even though he misses his parents, So you just have to end the story, okay? So every story is about a problem, conflict. You must end the story by resolving the problems. For example, look at this. It said your story must come to a full round circle. It will start from here and it will revolve. Now, look at the beginning. I believe you can see my screen very clearly. Let me see if I can blow it up a bit. At the beginning, it said, once upon a time, there lived a man in the city of London named Jim, who had 3 children and works at a factory close to Browning Street. Now, this is how you end the story. Jim gathered his children and wife and went to the man who saved his son from the attack. They all had dinner, and Jim believed once again that there are still good people in the city. You see, there was a problem, though the problem was not stated here. What was actually stated here was the beginning. The beginning where you established, you described the man the story is going to be about, the man and his family. At the end, okay, at the middle, definitely something happened. Something, or the family faced, the Jim family faced a tough challenge. There must be a problem to solve. Faced a tough challenge. Then at the end, sorry. So at the end, you have to end the story. You must solve that problem, which is what you did here. So you must bring your story to conclusion. Now, you're going to write this story for me now. I'm going to send it to your chat right now. Let me drop it in the chat. You're going to write with pen. You're going to snap it. I hope you have that. I hope you can do that. Copy. Can you check your chat, please, if you can find the story so that you can copy? You're going to write it now. So once you are done, you send it to me via email. Then we will continue with our class.